Princess Diana will always be remembered as a groundbreaking force for change.
The Diana, Princess of Wales, has been killed in a car accident, and that her partner, Dodi Fayed, has also been killed.
Princess, who spent her life in the relentless glare of the public eye, died in a speeding car in Paris, apparently trying to evade pursuing photographers.
Death stopped the world dead in its tracks on August 31st, 1997, following the death of Diana, the Princess of Wales.
Diana, Princess of Wales, has in fact been killed in that car accident in Paris.
The world groaned and mourned the death of a woman whose kindness, activism, and compassion shone bright like a light in this dark world. While her burial site remained hidden on a remote island, her tomb has been reopened after 27 years, awakening a curiosity about her actual cause of death. What exactly did they find? Do we really know the truth about her demise? Let us unpack the shocking revelation that has been buried with Diana for 27 years. Diana's curse, a death that refuses to die. Once again, it would seem the British royal family is in for another long ride. Bit by bit, Diana's death always seems to show up at their doorstep.
Diana's death a quarter-century ago was a seismic event for Great Britain and its monarchy.
It would seem that her death has refused to die with her. Is there a chance that the exhumation of Diana's body might finally absolve them of these pointed fingers and angry stares? Or could there finally be bang-on evidence about their involvement? On the 31st of August, 1997, the British family mourned the loss of a jewel, Princess Diana. Although she didn't have the best of marriages with Prince Charles at the time, it wasn't always like that.
If the rumours are to be believed, Prince Charles and Princess Diana's marriage may not have started on the most romantic foot.
Diana first met Prince Charles, heir to the British throne at the time, when she was 16 years old. A mere teenager swept off her feet at the sight of a man whose presence carried too much class, and that royal aura along with it. He was 29 at the time and was in a relationship with her older sister, Sarah. While they met in 1977, both Diana and Charles shared an undeniable connection, and there was that bit of spark between them. Somehow, Sarah just wasn't seeing it. That was her baby sister after all. However, 3 years later, they met again at a country weekend during the summer, and this time, Charles told her how he felt, considering taking her up as a bride. Does anyone else wonder how that worked between Diana and Sarah? While the dynamic seemed rather incomprehensible and maybe a little difficult to bear, when it comes to the heart, albeit a royal one, it simply just wants what it wants. And this time, Charles's royal heart only wanted beats for Diana. Soon, Charles invited her aboard the Britannia, the former British monarchy yacht that used to belong to the late Queen Elizabeth, for a sail to the Cowes.
For more than half of her more than 70-year reign, the Royal Yacht Britannia was the Queen's escape at sea.
Not long after that, he invited her to meet his other, the Queen at the time, at Balmoral Castle, the royal family's residence in Scotland. Of course, it all seemed to be happening so fast, but her reception at the palace only proved to her that she was coming into a family that loved her. Their relationship grew faster than anyone thought it would, and Charles courted her in London. While their gigantic 12-year age difference stuck out like a sore thumb, their love was all that mattered to them.
Princess Diana and Prince Charles's 12-year age gap likely made their relationship all the more difficult. Diana was only a teenager when she first met Charles.
However, the media, as usual, grabbed at straws, or at least it looked like it at the time, with different think pieces dropping after the other, questioning Diana's choice. However, she seemed to have found nothing but pain in this relationship, which ended in doom and gloom. In hindsight, was she making the wrong choice? Should this super-quick dating spree have been the first red flag? Knowing Diana, she was never one to follow rules, not even her own. She just did whatever she wanted, the original independent woman. Were they right about her poor choices all along, or did maturity eventually become an eye-opener? Diana takes the fight to the crown. While their marriage in 1981 started like every other, where the honeymoon moment got everyone at the edge of their seats,
She was just 20 years old when she married Prince Charles, but there were signs of trouble already in the relationship.
Watching their every move and just couldn't wait to see them brimming with love? The honeymoon phased out like darkness in an alley dispelled by the sudden headlights of a car. 5 years into the marriage, cracks started to open up, especially with their age difference really starting to have a telling effect on their union. Conspiracy theorists watched with keen interest how Diana and Charles fell apart like a house of cards. While some might see youth as an advantage, for someone like Diana, married into a home as powerful as the Windsors, could she garner the resolve to not just play the hands she's dealt, but reshuffle the deck and deal the cards this time? Does a 25-year-old have the bravery to go up against Charles's royal infidelity on her own? Maybe the royal family had once played the Game of Thrones, however they wanted. They just hadn't met Diana. She was more than willing to reinvent the wheel, creating her own happiness in the most defiant way. Immediately, she noticed Charles stepping out on their marriage, and we don't mean to go to the grocery store. This time, he was back in the arms of Carmilla Parker Bowles, and she felt the heat and the weight of the world crashing down on her. While she might have felt a bit depressed and almost like a prisoner in her own home, she wasn't going to let that break her. Instead, she took the fight right to Charles, challenging his infidelity with some of her own. Almost like a tit for tat. Society was always designed to suit the patriarchy. Hence, while Charles's infidelity, albeit an open secret, was out there in plain sight, it just didn't get as much attention as Diana's alleged philandering with the royal family's former instructor, James Hewitt. It was a cracking blow on the reputation of the royal family that a princess married into royal splendor.
Princess Diana rarely experienced a dull moment, but when it came to her passionate affair with writing instructor James Hewitt, she just couldn't rein it in.
And took the fight to them regardless of the patriarchal dominance at the time. Diana was not shy about showing off her relationship, regardless of the people's thoughts about her. She was ready to pay for her husband's royal infidelity in his own coin. The Queen watched their relationship from her distance, seeing it fall right off a cliff, and no one could really save it. The reputation of the crown was at stake, so she encouraged a divorce. Rumor has it that Charles's reputation and street credibility fell off a cliff, watching his wife cheat right back and then getting a rather favorable settlement after the divorce, both in finance and property. But just how badly did he take it? Was it enough for a fatal reaction? The press reacts to Diana's exit from the palace. Being a rather young bride who found her prince charming at 16, Diana quickly became the people's princess and the media's darling. While some didn't particularly love her approach to marriage, especially choosing a man almost twice her age, affiliations to Buckingham Palace kept them at bay. While her divorce might have freed her from the supposed shackles of a marriage that she did want out of so badly,
it is announced from Buckingham Palace that with regret, the Prince and Princess of Wales have decided to separate.
it also meant that the rules of engagement in the media had changed drastically, meaning that anyone could come for her, writing the nastiest think piece you could ever imagine. The deed had been done, as the divorce had already been agreed upon in 1992. However, after a huge fallout in a family as huge and under coverage as the British royal family, the PR machines start to roll out for damage control. Charles's team wanted to clean up his image so badly that critical stories often appeared about the mother of his kids, including the heir apparent, William. For some context, in 1994, the press stated that Diana made phone calls to the home of a married man while also alleging that she was in a relationship with Army officer James Hewitt. While the press release smeared her already dented reputation, PR specialists in her husband's camp tried to bolster his reputation by creating a biography and positive documentary to celebrate his 25th anniversary as Prince of Wales.
Princess Diana lived here at Kensington Palace, a place where people still come to remember her 25 years later.
This strategic smear campaign looked to be going very well at the time, as the press had created a narrative of infidelity around Diana, painting her as the park behind her husband's infidelity. The rationale behind the plan wasn't that hard to understand. Diana had to be painted as emotionally volatile and unavailable towards her husband, which then created a justification for Charles's actions. Diana watched on as the royal family's press narrative burst into overdrive and planned to run her over. But was she going to let the sleeping dog lie, or come out swinging regardless of who got caught in the crossfire? A royal rubble. Diana halts Charles's PR machine. As the narratives ran amok in different social circles in the United Kingdom, battering the princess's carefully curated image, Diana watched the royal PR machine trying to run her over while controlling the narrative. Her kids were still young, hence different thoughts filled her mind. What would her sons think of their mother when they are old enough to understand? Different thoughts swirled around her busy mind, and she hoped to quiet them down by talking to her friends. While they supported her through her most difficult phase, they all mostly told her to leave the matter alone, with a lot of, "Are you sure you want to do this?" being carved into her head from her friends, who only wanted her to be happy. They eerily warned her to leave the royal family alone, advising her against getting on their bad sides. However, a woman who defied rules while she was married to the crown had no reason to stick to them while she wasn't. Hence, she reached a decision to tell her truth. While she lived under the watchful eye of the monarchy in Kensington Palace, she had a few guards and butlers who were completely faithful to her. Hence, she swore them to secrecy as she invited BBC's Panorama and asked their interviewer, Martin Bashir, and his crew over to Kensington Palace, where she told her version of the truth, yanking the control of the narrative off their hands.
Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
She played the long game, eached and waited for the right time, which was just a week before the interview was scheduled to air before she told them she had done. There wasn't much time for them to prepare a rebuttal or get in some story to take the attention away from her. She saw the brutality of how the Game of Thrones was played right up close and watched it nearly kill her reputation. Hence, it was understandable that she wanted her pound of flesh, and she was enacting it with vengeance. Since the royal family had been briefed of the situation, they acted naturally, almost in isolation, as though not to be in the interview she was going to release. On the 20th of November, 1995, after the divorce had been finalized, the interview was released into the airspace, where 23 million people in Britain saw Diana's truth and toppled the old narrative in the media. The highlight of her interview was the discussion of her ex-husband's infidelity with Camilla Parker Bowles, when she started to feel that the marriage was starting to seem like a high school group project, where they had more than 2 people on a team. Although Diana didn't deny the happiness she once had every time she looked at Charles and how badly she was in love with him, she blamed Camilla Parker for the problems in her marriage, which culminated in a divorce. Also, she spoke about the depths and politics of the British monarchy, talking about Charles as a ruler for England and how surely she believed that he was incapable of being a ruler, at least not the type that the British throne needed. Further questions popped up about the kind of queen she had hoped to be, and she replied with a desire to be the queen of people's hearts, where she is loved by all.
I'd like to be a queen of people's hearts, in people's hearts, but I don't see myself being queen of this country.
However, she just did not see a way in the world where she functions as Queen of England. She just wanted out of the royal family monarchy, brouhaha so badly. How did she move on with her life after the divorce? The princess finds love again. Diana wasn't your average damsel in distress, waiting somewhere in the corners and hoping for some dashing knight in shining armor to save her. Oh, she could more than save herself. Although she had been through a divorce, she was quite sure that she could make it on her own socially, even while she was locked in looking for love. Several celebrities, including Elton John, Michael Jackson, Liza Minnelli, George Michael, and Gianni Versace, retained their close friendships with her. Shone kept the vibe going and retained her status as the people's queen, While the divorce was finally made complete in 1996, just a year before her demise, she met Dr. Hasnat Khan, a cardiac surgeon, who was tending to the husband of a friend. Although it seemed that she had found the perfect guy, he was completely different from Charles. Although Dr. Khan knew that dating Diana was always going to be some media frenzy, he just wanted some way to keep their relationship as low-key as possible. She referred to him as the love of his life, emphasizing that under different circumstances, they would be together. However, while they dated, he provided the perfect atmosphere for her. He was like her first call back to what reality really is. He provided her with some sense of normalcy and made her live like everyone else, almost like any other Tuesday. He showed her how to order a pint of beer while queuing. Some sources reported her excitement and how she felt for the first time in her life, ordering beer. "You meet so many people queuing," she noted. Diana had such high hopes for Dr. Hasnat Khan, and she actually thought that they could get married. She traveled to Pakistan to meet his family and saw them when they visited England. But her lover was devoted to his medical career, and the spotlight that came with Diana would be a huge burden. The relationship ended in the summer of 1997. However, Diana wasn't the easiest woman in the world to understand. While some reports claimed that she was trying to keep her relationship with Khan secret because of his privacy, with differing claims on who ended the relationship, Dr. Khan explicitly stated during an inquest that she ended the relationship with him after 2 years. About 2 months after they split up, Diana met Dodi Fayed, the son of Mohammed Al-Fayed, who once hosted Diana and her kids during a vacation. However, Tina Brown, a close friend of Diana's, claimed that she wasn't particularly crazy about dating Fayed, as her affection and heart remained with her true object of affection, Dr. Hasnat Khan. Although she knew that the ship had sailed, there really wasn't much wrong with trying, especially when it comes to matters of the heart. While she pursued her heart's desires, using the media and paparazzi as a tool to prop up her fame, almost overshadowing Charles, the heir apparent at the time, the paparazzi chased back this time, aiming to use her for their papers. How did that end? The fatal night, a caution closer. The 31st of August, 1997 marked one of the darkest days in the history of Britain, as the People's Queen died in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel in Paris.
Princess Diana was killed in a car crash inside a Paris tunnel,
while she was being pursued vigorously by paparazzi. On the night before her demise, she left the Olbia Airport, Sardinia. She arrived at Le Bourget Airport in Paris with Egyptian film producer Dodi Fayed, son of businessman Mohammed Al-Fayed, and her boyfriend at the time. They almost had no plans to go there as they were headed to London originally. However, they decided to stop there just because they could. Rich people's problems and fantasies, eh? Already, they had spent 9 days together at the Jonicle, a 60-foot monster yacht owned by Dodi's father. They weren't planning a new vacation, but fate, chance, and luck, albeit ill, tugged at their hearts, and they chose to land the private jet at the Ritz Hotel, owned by the Fayeds. Although they had planned to stay at the hotel for some reason, they had to leave through the back door. Alas, it was paparazzi, which brings the question: just how did they know about a split-second decision taken on a private plane? Consequently, the couple left the hotel with their heads down and got in the car with their designated driver, Henri Paul, who worked at the Ritz Hotel as deputy head of security. While the security team planned a smart escape using a decoy vehicle, attracting a host of photographers and reporters, the armored Mercedes carrying Dodi and Diana went through the rear entrance. In the car, there were 4 of them: Diana, Dodi, Henri, and Trevor Rees-Jones, a member of the Fayed security team, and neither of them wore a seatbelt. While they tried to evade paparazzi, Henri lost control of the car at the entrance of the Pont de l'Alma underpass. The crash started from a high-speed chase, leading to a collision with a white Fiat, which caused a swerve to the left of the 2-lane carriageway and collided head-on with the 13th pillar that supported the roof. The car was already moving at a high speed of 105 kilometers per hour. Consequently, the impact of the hit on the Fiat caused it to spin and then hit the stone wall of the tunnel before coming to an abrupt halt. Although the details of her death appeared carefully detailed, Dodi's father asked for an inquest into his son's demise, suspecting foul play. However, no one could really tell where his suspicions lay. While rumors abound about Prince Philip, Camilla Bowles, and King Charles all playing a part in her death, the law has decided it to be untrue. While controversial theories remained, with some proven right or wrong at intervals, a recent unrest has once again pointed fingers at the royal family, playing a damning part in her death, leading to a warrant for exhumation. Is this another rabbit hole, or will they actually find something that ties her death to the British monarchy? A rude awakening after 27 years. 27 years have passed, and Princess Diana's death remains a topic of discussion. Although the government has investigated, created, and followed it up with a narrative from the obvious crash. Some people just cannot let it go, especially with rumors coming to light of a possible King Charles involvement in her demise. Rumor has it that a select group of forensic analysts were authorized to visit her tomb and exhume her corpse for one final round of analysis. While it sounds a lot like grasping at straws, these actions have not been authorized lightly. After her messy divorce from Charles, she found solace in her workers, especially Paul Burrell, her former butler, who became more than a worker but also a confidant, who she could share her plight with. Even after her divorce from Charles, he still stayed on her employ until her demise. Hence, there is a real good chance that he just might have compromise on the British royal family and is willing to expose them. According to Paul, he has some of the late princess's letters, where she not only described King Charles as unfit for leadership, but also after her life. Paul described her as lonely and sad, but the only thing that kept her going was her love for her kids. He explained that she used to leave notes all the time on his desk. Some of them read, "Whenever I thought of something and you weren't there, I just wrote them down so I do not forget." Her alleged letters to Paul contained some alleged detail that outrightly suggests that King Charles was going to attempt homicide on her. However, she not only described his tendency for the murder, she also described how he was allegedly going to do it. She described the situation to include a deliberate action to tamper with her brakes, which would lead to instant death in the case of a crash, or at best, paralysis. Diana's fear at the time seemed nearly impossible, as they hardly saw each other since the divorce. However, she feared that the royal family might be trying to kill her so Charles could marry his new wife. It was a rather plausible argument when the church hadn't made it possible to get married to a different partner until the old one is dead. While forensics try to get to the root of the situation, it remains to be seen if the royal family is not found complicit in this capital crime. What do you think they will find in her tomb? How do you think Prince Harry and William feel about this? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.